Here's how to make an ebook and sell it to your audience in less than an hour. I know writing an entire ebook sounds really scary, but it's actually so much easier than you think. And to prove it to you, I'm gonna live record the entire process of me making an ebook, starting from actually coming up with the idea all the way to posting and marketing it. So let's get started. So there are 5 steps to this process, and I'm gonna walk you through each one. Starting with step number 1, ideation, actually coming up with the idea of what you're gonna sell. So the best way to come up with an idea for a guide to sell to your audience is to actually just ask your audience what they want from you. Now, doing that is great for 2 reasons. A, because the people on your stories are the people who are most likely gonna purchase this guide from you anyway, so you want their opinion. And then B, when your audience feels like they are a part of your process of creating something, they're gonna be even more inclined to buy this guide when you release it. And when you're coming up with the idea of what you wanna sell, you wanna make sure that it solves the problems that your audience is facing. And that's why it's so easy to do this on your story, because all you have to do is use the Ask Me Anything sticker and just say, what are your top 3 struggles right now? And then once you get those answers, you'll be able to see firsthand what your audience is struggling with, so then you'll be able to solve that issue in your guide. And if you don't have many followers yet, or just enough engaged people to really answer this question for you, you can always use Stanley to help you out with this. Stanley is our own little AI bot that's pretty much like your creator assistant, and he can actually help you come up with ideas of what to sell. So what's super cool about Stanley is that he can actually scrape your social media, so he knows what kind of content you post already. So all you have to do is use this prompt. I teach people, and then just say whatever you do in your content. For me, for example, I will say, I teach people how to make and sell digital products as a content creator, period. Give me 10 ideas for a guide that I can sell to my audience. Okay, now we're gonna see what Stanley says. Okay, about 10 seconds later, this popped up. 10 digital products ideas for your audience. Based on your expertise in teaching people how to make and sell digital products, here are 10 ideas for guides you can create and sell to your audience. So first example, a step-by-step guide to creating your first digital product, and it gives me a little description of what I could do, marketing strategies for digital products, pricing your digital products, a complete guide. It has everything here. It has everything, like any type of guide that I would want to make in this niche. It's now given me an idea for. So I'm feeling really pulled to do this step-by-step guide to creating your first digital product. But if you don't find an idea that you really love in the first 10 ideas here, you can just tell Stanley, hey, give me 10 more ideas. Give me 10 more, or give me 10 more, until you find an idea that you love. So now that I know the topic of what I want to talk about in my guide / ebook, that takes us to step number 2, which is actually writing out the ebook. So a lot of people get scared about writing an ebook because they think about how difficult it is to actually turn your ideas and your value into a document. But that is where our bestie Stanley comes in again. So I'm going to take that topic idea that I had and then plug it into this prompt to actually have Stanley create the guide for me. I want to create a detailed 10-step, whatever topic it is you're doing, I'm doing, guide on how to create your first digital product. So based on my recent Instagram post, which is key because it'll actually sound like you, which is so cool, generate this guide for me. Boom. See what Stanley says. Okay, Stanley generated an entire ebook for me. There's an outline, there are sections, there's everything. So there's like an introduction, your path to creating your first digital product. Then here we see there's steps 1 through 10, and then going down, it actually dives into each step. So like step 1, identify your product idea, and then there's like multiple different sections under that, and then goes to step 2. It has everything you need. Okay, so Stanley is amazing, but he might not give you the perfect guide on the first try, and that's why it's really important to go through and read everything and see if there's anything you want to change. And what I'm noticing when I'm looking through this guide that Stanley made for me is that there are a lot of extra steps that I probably wouldn't teach myself. And that's because I said to make a 10-step guide for me, and AI will do what you say. So he just added in a bunch of steps that really aren't necessary, but we can easily change that. So I'm gonna go ahead and go in and say, redo it, but in this order. So I'm just gonna type out the 5 steps that I think should be included in this guide. Okay, so now I see that Stanley has created another guide for me. There's now steps 1 through 5, but what I am noticing is that it's not as detailed as the first guide that he sent me, which is fine, that happens sometimes. So I'm just gonna go in and say, redo it in the same format as the first guide you sent me, with headings, subheadings, and emojis. Because I still want it to look all cute, okay, Stanley? Okay, great. Now I'm looking at Stanley's third version of a guide that he sent me, and this is exactly what I wanted. This is perfect. But don't be afraid to continue iterating with Stanley until you have that perfect guide. Okay, so now that you have the copy, aka the text of what's going to be in your guide / ebook, now it's time for you to turn that value into an actual product. And when it comes to designing your product, you can really use any avenue of approach that you feel good about to present it. So for example, you can use something like Google Docs or Word or PowerPoint. I'm going to be using Canva for this guide because I like to be able to use a little bit of graphics, a little bit of customization, but you can use whatever you feel good about. So when I'm in Canva, I just look for templates. I just search up ebook just so I find a template that has multiple pages, and I see this one here is a guidebook for new UGC content creators. So it's actually for creators already. So I'm gonna use that template. So once you're in your template or you're in your Google Docs or your PowerPoint presentation, whatever it may be, this is all the same. You need to make sure that you have a really strong title. So for me, this guide is 5 steps to actually creating your first digital product. That doesn't seem super captivating. So I'll just tweak it a little bit and I will say the ultimate guide to selling digital products. Just gives it a little more oomph, you know? And then after the title page, it's important to also have a table of content so that your audience is aware of what's actually gonna be in the guide. And then after the table of contents, I definitely think it's worthwhile to have a little introduction about yourself in case whoever is viewing your guide doesn't even know who you are. And then from there, the rest of the guide is literally me going back to what Stanley gave me and just copying and pasting the different sections and putting it into this template. Okay, so now that I have all of my value in my guide, one more thing that's really important in pretty much any guide that you are selling is to always have a call to action as the very last page. For example, if this is a free guide, you wanna have a call to action that tells your audience to get a paid product from you. And you can actually link that paid product directly in your guide. And if this is a paid guide, that means that the person reading it really cares about what you have to say. So I'd recommend having a call to action that tells them to either book a one-on-one call with you or join your community. Okay, now your ebook is done. Woo! So what you're gonna do is save that as a PDF. And that takes us to step number 4, uploading it onto your Stan store. So I sell everything on Stan, obviously, truly because it is the most user-friendly way to sell a digital product. You don't need your own website, you don't need all these other little shenanigans, you just have your Stan store and it's good to go. So let's do it on Stan. Okay, so now that we're all on Stan, I'm gonna walk you through the steps on exactly how to actually get this published so you can offer your guide to your audience. Okay, so you're gonna go to the My Store tab and then scroll down and click Add Product. And then since you are selling a guide, you can go ahead and click the digital product as the product type. Okay, so here we have the thumbnail. On the right hand side, you'll be able to see exactly what your customer will see on your storefront. So you can choose the button, the call out, or the preview. And when you're selling a guide, I'd recommend choosing the call out style because you can have the title and then also a little description of what it is you're selling. Next, select your thumbnail and there are tons of stock photos to choose from. And then for the title, you want it to be the same as your actual guide's title. And then the subtitle is so important because it's only 100 characters, so it's very precious real estate that you have to sell your guide to your audience. Everything you need to know to start making money by creating and selling your own, we're getting close, digital products, exclamation point, 100 out of 100. That deserves a round of applause. Hooray! And then for the button, I'm gonna keep the download now because I know that it works, but you can of course customize it how you want. Okay, so now this is what your customer is gonna see on your actual storefront, but now when we click next, going to the checkout page, this is what your customers are gonna see when they actually click into the guide. So now here you can upload a new image, and actually since this one is bigger, I have seen a lot of successful creators create their own little mini graphic for this, where it might have a picture of them, just to customize it a little bit more. And now for the description body, this is super, super important because you wanna make sure that you are telling your audience what pain points you're solving in this guide. And then what's really cool is that we have this generate with AI button that'll take your description title and then use Stanley to generate this description for you. Okay, so I love the first sentence of this because it's identifying who I'm talking to, which is a content creator. But then when I see the steps that it actually gave me, it doesn't know the actual guide that I have. So the steps are a little bit different, but I am gonna use this and just sub in my steps that I put in my guide. So I will just click replace and go ahead and add in my steps. Okay, so now that we have the description in, that takes us to the bottom title, which is really just the last call to action that you're gonna have before your audience types in their information to pay for your product. Pro tip, the default text that Stan has in here is actually used from data from 6 successful content creator. So everything in here works already. So I'm just gonna keep get my guide, and I'm gonna keep the all caps purchase. Okay, so now we're here at the price. And I know that a lot of creators can feel really intimidated by this, but I'm gonna walk you through how to think about how you should price your product. So when pricing your product, you can think about it in 3 different tiers: low, middle, and high. So a low ticket item is something that is either free or very inexpensive. And these are important if you really want to build trust with your audience and also build your email list. And the next step up being the mid-ticket item ranges anywhere from $20 to $100 and has a lot more value. And finally, there's the high ticket item that is $100 or more and has the most value that you can give. So for this guide, it's definitely gonna be in the low to mid-ticket range, but you can take a look at your product and what you're selling and how much value you're giving and price it accordingly. Okay, final step, you just actually upload your PDF and you click publish, and your product is now live and you can start offering it to your audience. And now that your product is live, that takes us to the final step: actually promoting your product. I know that I've said so many things, I'm like, ooh, this is scary, because the entire process is scary, but definitely marketing your product is pretty scary. And that feeling of fear never truly goes away, even for the most successful content creators, but it does get smaller and smaller because the more that you do it, the more confident you feel. And so now that it's live, you can make the big announcement, post it to your feed, post it to your story, let people know you're actually selling it, because if your audience doesn't know you're selling it, they're not gonna be able to buy it. But don't stop there, because even after you have your announcement that you are selling this guide, you need to keep talking about that guide over and over and over again. I'm talking like every single day. And we actually have an entire video showing you all the different ways to market your products without sounding salesy. So if that's a fear of yours, if you're like, I don't want to sound salesy, we have that video for you already. We linked it in the description. Okay, we did it. You now know how to create and sell your ebook in less than an hour. You now know how to actually come up with the idea for your guide, then take that idea and use Stanley to actually create that guide for you, and then take that copy and turn it into something pretty to actually sell to your audience, and then putting that guide on your stand store to actually be able to sell it, and then finally actually marketing your guide. And if you make an ebook using these steps, please put it in the comments. We would love to see it. And by the way, we are publishing weekly videos just like this to our YouTube channel to make sure that you are a successful content creator, so make sure to subscribe.